What's good, YouTube? It's Justice I Used to Be Pay, and today I'm back with another video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about Pink Friday 2 before it officially comes out in a couple of days. Now, Pink Friday 2 is the next project by Nicki Minaj, one of the greatest rappers of all time, one of the best rappers of the 2010s. And I'm going to be talking about this album because I believe this will end up being one of the more controversial albums of the last couple of years. And so I'm just going to give a whole bunch of different takes that I have on the project before it officially comes out, just so I can kind of have it on record. And also, Barbs, put the torches down, put the pitchforks down. We're going to be playing nice in this video. I know I don't have the best relationship with Nicki Minaj, mostly stemming from when she tried to roast me on Twitter. But everything that I'm saying in this video isn't, it's not like me coming from a place of hatred. I don't hate Nicki Minaj. This isn't me being a hater. I'm just giving you my opinion on some things that are going to be positive, some things may be negative. But overall, this is like a true breakdown of what I'm seeing. This isn't me just like sitting here being like, oh my God, what can I say to make Nicki look bad? Now, I believe this album will be very interesting and very controversial and impactful, mostly just due to the fact that, again, Nicki Minaj is one of the greatest rappers of all time. And this is an entirely new landscape that she's about to enter, or re-enter, I should say, because the last time Nicki Minaj dropped an album was 2018 with the album Queen. Now, 2018 isn't 2 years ago. I know it feels like it's still 2020. It's actually 5 years ago now, almost 6. So it's been quite a while since Nicki Minaj has dropped an album. And the entire rap landscape has pretty much flipped on its head. It's completely different, even though, still some of the same acts are around, but overall, the game has changed a lot. When Nicki Minaj last dropped, it was pretty much a vapid desert. There was not a lot of female rap talent at the top. I mean, of course, Cardi B was like coming into her own in 2018, but for the most part, there wasn't a lot going on. But now we have changed from a vapid desert into a diverse ocean of a whole bunch of female rappers that are basically popping off. And honestly, female rap is probably just as lit, or if not more lit than male rap at this moment. We've got artists like Sexy Red all the way to Lil Sims. So the entire landscape of rap has changed massively, and this will be the first time in Nicki Minaj's career that she drops an album where there's an entire female rap game existing outside of her. Because typically, that just hasn't been the case. Back in 2012, that wasn't the case. In 2014, that wasn't the case. And then, of course, in 2018, it started to change a little bit. Cardi B was on her rise. But for the most part, it's pretty much just been Nicki and like a little group of like co-stars, a couple other co-stars. But this will be the first time since ever, actually, in her career where she drops an album and there is an entire female rap game outside of her. So I think it's going to be very interesting to see how she kind of interacts with the rest of the girls, how her music does in comparison to the rest of the girls in terms of obviously numbers, which we can easily measure, but also in terms of the fans' reception to it, the quality, and everything of the sort. And I think it will be especially interesting to see how Pink Friday 2 plays out because of not only the massive amount of female rappers that there are in the game right now that are actually doing extremely well, but also because of Nicki Minaj's, I guess you could say, advanced age for rap. Obviously, 40 isn't that old in real life, but in the rap game, 40 is kind of old. Like, that's old, bro. And typically, when artists hit the age of like 40, they start to kind of not necessarily fall off, but like lose it in terms of like their impact on modern hip hop culture. Most rappers at 40, they still have their regular fan base and they can still be huge artists. Look at somebody like Eminem. But in terms of how they impact the modern rap culture, that's kind of gone at the age of 40. They're kind of outsiders looking in. So it'll be very interesting to see how not only Nicki Minaj interacts with the rest of the female rappers that are out there in this modern era now, but also how her music does in terms of, is it really still modern hip hop culture? Is it still affecting the rap game today? Now, I think it still will because it's Nicki Minaj. But again, at that point of 40 years old, a lot of rappers typically kind of fall out of the modern light. They're not really relevant in today. Again, they can be like Eminem and sell 300, 400K, but in terms of how they're looked at in this modern rap space, they're not really included in the culture. So I think it'll be very interesting not only to see how Pink Friday 2 plays out in terms of in comparison to the vastly growing roster of new female rappers, but also how it plays out in terms of Nicki Minaj's just age in general and how she interacts with the youth of today. Because at 40, typically you just kind of miss the mark in terms of interacting with the youth because you're 40. So I think it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out as well. Now, me personally, I do believe that Nicki Minaj still is the best female rapper currently. I would say someone like Doja Cat gives her a run for her money, but I do believe that she still is the best. And I think she showed that on a song like Red Ruby to Sleaze, where she showed that she can work in this modern era. Like, it's not, oh my gosh, Nicki's an old lady. Like, she can still do her thing. So I think she's still the best. But if there was ever a time for Nicki Minaj to get her spot taken or be removed from the throne, it would be right now. So it'll be very interesting to see how Nicki Minaj kind of re-enters this era with this new album. Will it be the same dominance that we saw in 2012 or 2014? Will she just kind of steamroll everybody? Or will there be more pushback than there was back then? Will there be more people like, this is cool, but, you know, Nicki, her time is up? Like, what will it be like? What will the reactions be? And what will the numbers be like? Will she be an artist like Kendrick, Cole, and Drake, where it's just kind of like whenever they drop, it does not matter. They're going to do crazy numbers. Her last album, Queen, sold about 185K first week, which is a massive amount, don't get me wrong, but it's not touching the numbers of something like the Pink Print, which did about 244, and Pink Friday, the original, which sold about 375K. And the album also didn't go #1 because of Astroworld, at least in the initial first week, which caused a lot of hilarious clips.
Whole nigga of the week, of course, is Travis Scott. Woo! But what we not gonna do is have this auto-tune man coming up here selling fucking sweaters and telling y'all he sold 500,000 fucking albums, because he didn't.
But the world of numbers has drastically changed since 2018 as well. And I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens to Nicki Minaj's numbers since 2018. Now, they've brought the bundles back, so those will definitely help. But it'll be interesting to see because it looks like pretty much everyone's numbers are down besides Drake, Kendrick, Cole, Ye, and I think that's pretty much it. Like, everyone else has seen a little bit of a dip in their numbers. So I think it will be very interesting to see, is Nicki still of that echelon in terms of like sales and popularity wise, or is she going to suffer from the same things that a lot of other artists are suffering from? One thing I will assert about this album is, in my opinion, there is not as much hype as there should be. Now, obviously, the Barbs are going crazy. They're super excited about this. But outside of that very specific online bubble of fans, I feel like there's not really a lot of hype for this album, and I think it's mostly just due to a weak rollout. Nicki's rollout for this album has depended on, y'all should go buy my album because I'm Nicki Minaj, which does work to a certain degree because she is that big of an artist. But for an album that is her first in 5 years, there just really isn't that hype. Like, Nicki Minaj is one of the biggest rappers of all time, and this is her first project in 5 years. And I just feel like there isn't a lot of conversations about it. Like we saw with Utopia this year or Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers last year, like there was a lot of hype around those albums because it was a big comeback. But for Nicki, that aura just really is not there. Now, she did do the Vogue cover, which was a big thing, and she also did the Vogue interview, which was big as well. So don't get me wrong, I've been paying attention, but for the most part, this rollout hasn't been anything crazy besides like her posting on social media a lot, which kind of is similar, in my opinion, to Drake's rollout for All the Dogs, where it's mostly just social media based. Go buy my album. Hey, y'all, I'm dropping on this date, whatever. But also, Nicki Minaj tweets way more than Drake posts on Instagram. So there's a difference there. But also, just being real, Barbs, don't get mad. Nicki Minaj isn't Drake. Like, I'm sorry. Drake is the biggest rapper in the world right now. So when Drake does stuff like that, it doesn't really matter that he doesn't have, a super strong rollout because he's Drake. Now, Nicki's Nicki, don't get me wrong, but in terms of just looking at the numbers, it's Drake. But also, during that time period, Drake was on tour. So not only did he not really have a big rollout, like he didn't have to do a big rollout or whatever, he was just on social media, he literally was going city to city promoting this album. So it kind of worked as an in-person advertisement for the album. So yes, he didn't do a big rollout, but he was going city to city promoting this next project. And Nicki's not having the chance to do that because she's not on tour right now. So they're doing similar things, but also Drake is Drake, and Drake was on tour at the time. So that worked as advertisement in itself, and Nicki doesn't have that. And if you want to know what I think is a very good album rollout, just look at what Offset did this year. And I know I'm not trying to be messy or whatever, but just look at what Offset did this year. Offset went on every interview he could go on. He was on the podcast with Bobby Altov. He did the podcast with Call Her Daddy, I think is what it's called. He was everywhere. He did the Kai Cenat 24-hour stream. Then the next day he flew out to Colorado and was with Deion Sanders. Like, the man was everywhere. I saw Offset's face in that little like 2-month period more than I had seen his face in the last 2 years before that. So that's what I would like to think of as like a very good rollout of an album. But for an album that is Nicki Minaj's first in the last 5 years, and also a sequel to Pink Friday 2, which was a very iconic project, I just don't feel that there's the appropriate hype that there should be. I'd kind of currently compare the hype for Pink Friday 2 to the hype that there was for the Pink Tape by Lil Uzi Vert. Now, maybe there's a little bit less or a little bit more, but I think they're around the same range of hype going into an album. So if I'm going to make a sales prediction for this album, I say the album sells about 165 to 180K without bundles, but with bundles, it'll probably do like 270K because I believe Nicki Minaj is sending out personally signed albums. So I think that'll drive a lot of sales for the Barbs. So I think this album will sell around 165 to 180 without the bundles, but with the bundles, it'll be like 270 or something like that. And I know I'll probably look really stupid if Nicki Minaj comes out and sells 400K and people will be roasting me. Oh, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. But honestly, that'll probably be better for me because it'll get me more in the algorithm. People will be roasting the video. So, hey, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. And honestly, if I'm wrong by a big margin, it's probably better than me being right. Because if I'm right, nobody's really going to care. Now to get into my favorite part of this potential album, which is what Nicki's going to say in terms of taking shots. Because I know Nicki's going to be talking crazy on this album. I already know. Nicki's already been hinting at saying a whole bunch of stuff. She's been hinting at responding to people and things that have been said behind closed doors or behind the scenes. So Nicki is going to have bars for everybody. She's going to have bars for Cardi B. She's going to have bars for Meg. She's going to have bars for Lotto. She probably going to have bars for Offset. She might even have bars for me at this point. Like, Nicki is going to be talking crazy on this project. And honestly, that might be what I'm looking forward to the most. I like Nicki Minaj's music, but when she really starts talking crazy, that's when I really like Nicki Minaj's music, because she has a lot of really good punchlines and a lot of stuff that kind of goes under the radar. And then you look into it, like the Christopher Reeve bar. It wasn't that great, but it was funny. Like, I thought it was really funny. I thought it was kind of clever and I thought it was really funny. Or the bar about the VMAs, like that was a family reunion the first time she saw all 5 of her sons or something like that. Like, just really clever bars. Or the Ocean Gate bar. 1 sub kills 5 bitches, Ocean Gate. Like, stuff like that. Like, stuff that's just very interesting and a little messy. And I'm a fan of it. I'm not gonna lie. I like that type of stuff. So I cannot wait to hear what she has to say about some of the people that have been taking shots at her. Specifically Lotto. Lotto's been going crazy on Nicki Minaj. So I expect there to be some sort of response to Lotto. Of course, Cardi B. Of course, she's going to give bars to Cardi B. She just has to. Of course, she's going to give bars to Meg. But I think the Lotto bars will be the most interesting, in my opinion. And now to end this video off, in terms of quality, I do expect this album to be good. I don't think Nicki Minaj has any bad albums or bad projects. So there's no real precedent there for me to be like, oh my God, Nicki's going to drop trash. I don't really expect that. But it will be interesting to see what people's responses are to this album. Obviously, the Barbs are going to love it, even if she literally farts on the mic for 20 minutes straight and calls it an album. Like, it doesn't matter what she does. Those will be the most iconic farts in Stan Twitter history. Like, it does not matter. But I think it'll be interesting to see what this is like. Will it be great? And especially if this project is bad. I think if this project is bad, it'll be very telling to see what people say. People will go straight for the she fell off, she's not that good. Now when she finally has some competition, she can't keep up. Like, I think those conversations will be very interesting, especially because, again, she is 40 years old. So people will be ready to say that she's washed and she's done if this project isn't what people expect it to be. But I don't really expect that to happen. I don't expect the project to be bad. If the project is any like sort of underwhelming, I think it'll be mostly just because Nicki would be doing the same stuff that she was doing in the 2010s. If this project is bad, I think that will be the reason why. Bad, I put in quotation marks, because I don't think it'll be bad. I think it'll just kind of be like, oh, this isn't that good, and it kind of shows that Nicki is still stuck in the 2010s. That is the most realistic negative outcome I could see from this album, is people saying, you know, it's not bad, but we've heard Nicki do this before, or, you know, it's cool, but it kind of sounds a little dated. I think that's the most realistic negative side of this album. I don't think Nicki Minaj is going to just drop a stinker. I don't really think she's capable of doing that. But I think a possibility where she drops an album that's a little lackluster and kind of feels reminiscent of albums that she's made in the years previous is a very real possibility. But overall, I think this album is going to be very exciting in terms of the narrative surrounding it, the narratives, the controversies, the bars she gives people. I think overall, it'll be a very exciting topic after it's dropped in like the weeks following that. But at the moment, I don't feel like a lot of people are really talking about this. Like, it's really one of the biggest rappers ever coming back after 5 years. And I just don't feel like there's a massive conversation surrounding it in hip hop. Maybe that's just due to misogyny in hip hop. I don't know. That could be it. Who knows? But in general, I think the conversation surrounding this album in the weeks following will be a lot more interesting and a lot more engaging than what it has been leading up to the album outside of like Stan Twitter, which is actually hilarious. If you are a regular person who like likes rap music and you're just bored someday, look into Stan Twitter. That stuff is absolutely hilarious. I don't know. Those people are very unhinged. It's pretty funny, but yeah, if you agree or disagree with anything I said in this video, leave comments down below. If you hate me, if you're a Barb, and you're going to send this to Nicki Minaj in hopes that she like sends a bomb to my house, I don't know, whatever. Just leave a comment down below. If you made it this far, I greatly appreciate it. Have a good day. Be safe. Be blessed. Peace.